Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hey, hello, welcome. I'm Stacy and this is my channel about Siberia and Russian peculiarities. So take a cup of tea, coffee, make yourself comfortable, and let's go deep into the bloody story of a Novosibirsk policeman who killed more than 19 young ladies here. He brought chaos and fear those years from 1998 to 2006. And I still can remember that silent horror creeping throughout the city. October 19, 1998. I was only 10. Fragments of a woman's body were found in an old refrigerator at the spontaneous garbage dump on the left coast of Novosibirsk. The victim's chest and genitals were cut out, and the head was found several meters away from the refrigerator under the sheet of iron. This case was the first known among other 19 terrible and shocking young girls, brunettes, in the age of 18 to 30, were found all over the city, partioned, and the maniac was not really easy to catch. Most bodies had strange symbols and pentagrams left on the body and chest. Some cards, inscriptions, signs left around that made police think that the man did have some satanic tendencies. And of course they started to search through local sects and communities, but it was totally wrong and led the case to the dead end. The investigation initially believed that the maniac's actions were too obvious and true, and he himself was a sick idiot. But this dude was neither sick nor a fool, and he fooled those Sherlock Holmeses for many years. We should admit that those mysterious symbols could not be deciphered, neither by the amateurs in the internet, nor by the Novosibirsk investigation and their experts working on the case. Another silly thing was also that Novosibirsk's talentless investigators started a rumor which was firmly set in the press and in all materials about the maniac. He only killed prostitutes, and his victims were so-called night butterflies from the Nemirovich Danchenko street. This very idea played a cruel joke on the investigation, leading it down to a false path. But in fact, the things were different. Of course, the number of victims could be classified as prostitutes, but not really all of them. For example, here's the story of one of the victims, which was not a prostitute. This story was told by her sister. An 18-year-old girl, Anna, went to a friend's birthday party, and the next day she didn't return home. Anna left her friend, went home, last seen alive at night kiosk. Her body was found only in a month, in a ditch, dismembered. As her relatives said, she couldn't get into the car with a stranger. Most likely, the maniac attacked her in the dark and took her away by force. To 2016, only 7 victims were identified, and not even all of those 7 were prostitutes. The more maniac killed, the more the degree of dismemberment of the victim it was. First, only heads and genitals were separated, and then, further on, the body was completely dismembered. The first suspects were Novosibirsk doctors, because police thought that he knew anatomy well. They checked over 5,000 people and made a third portrait of a killer, living on the left coast, having a car, the age is from 40 to 55 years. The investigation kept interviewing escort ladies and pimps and did everything to lead themselves nowhere. The next version was that most bodies were found in the dumps, which means that the maniac either worked in the dump or inspected the dump. They checked them all, wasting their time, but this version also turned to be false. Criminologists make a psychological portrait of the maniac. Not friendly, has difficulties in communication with women. That's why he was communicated with easily accessible prostitutes. And he also had a mental and sexual disorders. And this also was a mistake. Only in 2006, the case was turned to the right side. The cell phone of one of the victims was traced by the police. The suspected taxi driver was arrested, but released in a few months because of lack of evidence. And the case went to the dead end again. After 2006, murders stopped and the investigation was lost. Later, more than 5,000 men were checked, more than 8,000 witnesses were questioned, and more than 300 examinations were conducted. Suddenly, they found the maniac's DNA on the things taken from the places where bodies were found. And only after 10 years of searchings and comparison, researchings with the DNA, on the 23rd of April 2016, the suspected man was caught for the second time, but now with no opportunity to escape. He appeared to be a former policeman, Evgeniy Chuplinskyi. According to the experts, the accused didn't suffer any chronic or temporary mental disorders or dementia, but was prone to sadism. In addition, he was found to have a necrosadism and homicidomania. And the main reason for all that crimes was hate for women. Evgeniy Chuplinskyi worked in the Interior Ministry in 1990s. After his retirement, he worked as a taxi driver, as a construction worker, as well as political activist campaigning for Единая Россия during the elections in 2007. And he also was registered as the General Director of Active K LLC. For the last few years before his second arrest, Evgeny, his wife, and 2 daughters had been living in a luxury house in Rimsky-Korsakov Street, not far from the left coast center in Novosibirsk. After his arrest, Evgeniy Chuplinskyi denied his involvement in the murders. Then he made a confession, showed how he made those murders, and told about 2 more episodes that were not known to the investigators.
Ну, прям сильно его завязали, передавили шею. Она в тот момент подавала какие-то признаки жизни.
And then he changed his words again, saying that he accepted being guilty only under pressure.
Стали прессовать мою семью. Там реально кирпичи летели в сторону. И детей в школу пришлось прятать, и много что еще. И давление с их стороны было. Я понимал, что жена сойдет с ума. Мало того, что потеряют отца, еще потеряют мать. Я был поставлен в такие условия, что мне для того, чтобы спасти свою семью и своих детей, у меня не оставалось другого выхода, как заключить досудебное соглашение. Это не я убийца. Мне интересно, чтобы люди услышали правду, узнали правду.
The former policeman claimed that the phone found in his car, which belonged to the girl murdered in 2004, came to him by accident, and anatomy books found during the searching in Chuplinskyi's house, which investigators considered as indirect evidence of involvement in the dismemberment of victims, he claimed to belong to his wife, who was a dentist. He said that genetic examination results were also a mistake. At the same time, the defendant admitted that he had contact with some victims. I knew at least 2 victims from working on my territory, Chuplinskyi said in an interview given in a court. He explained that while he was working in extra security department, he investigated various crimes, and some of those victims were his assistants or informants. I cooperated with women to gather information about crimes being prepared or committed. This allowed me to write reports to my superiors and be good in solving crimes. The policeman Reaper was imprisoned on the 23rd of April 2016 with a life sentence.
Короче, у нас стычка произошла такая. Вот. Ну, в результате, в общем, я ее схватил, прижал, и меня трясло. В этот момент как-то не понимаешь, что это делается.
I hope guys you enjoyed the video. Give this thumbs up or down if you feel it to be. Subscribe the channel if you're ready to hear some more interesting and frightening stories. And I'm leaving you now for so long. See you in the next video. Bye.